Special greetings to everyone. I welcome each and every one of us to this new video that we are about to embark on. Okay, I bring a new circuit so that we can all study and grow together. This is our display and our light circuit. Okay, one thing I want to tell us is that we know that we have different display IC, different display IC circuits. Okay, our normal Android display is LCD. We do call it LCD. Okay, that is our normal Android display, and in that one you will see that the light IC has its own separate circuit. That is, in our backlight we have our own backlight IC separate. Then we also have our own display or graphics IC separate. But when you come to this type of circuit, AMOLED circuit, you will see that both the light and the graphics have been meshed together. Okay, the light and the graphics have been meshed together. So now we have to study this circuit because some of us don't know how to troubleshoot and work on this circuit. And most of the phones that they are producing now, most of the high version phone that we are using now, they make use of AMOLED screen. AMOLED is a type of screen. Okay, then we have LCD, we have our normal LCD screen, we have AMOLED, we have OLED, we have Super AMOLED. Okay, so now we have to study this circuit so that we can know how to troubleshoot and fix it. Now, one thing you have to know is that if this circuit is faulty, you will not have light, you will not have graphics. That there will be no light, there will be no display, but your phone will be on. You will hear the sounds or the vibrations when you turn it on, or if someone calls you, you will hear the sounds. Okay, but you will not see any display on the screen and there will be no light. It's because they have matched the graphics and the light together. So today I'm going to explain everything in detail so that we can all understand. I'm not going to hide anything. I'm going to explain everything in detail. So watch this video to the end and also pay attention so that you will understand every detail. Okay, so now I've made this diagram because I understand that the fastest way for us to learn and understand something very well is to picture that thing in terms of, is to capture that thing in terms of picture. Okay, is to have an image presentation of that thing or representation of that thing so that our mind can be able to understand what we want to learn. So that is the reason I always make my video on or with diagrams. Okay, so now this is our graphics and our light circuit, the IC. This is our CPU, and then we have our LDO here. We also have another LDO here. Then this is our LCD connector. This is our screen connector. Okay, this is our screen connector. And then one thing I want to explain is that we have, the first thing you will do is that if your phone is having fault, like there is no graphic, there is no light, and the phone is using AMOLED screen, okay, have it at the back of your mind that this is the type of circuit that the phone is using. Okay, if you want to identify that kind of circuit, you see 3 big coils around that IC. Okay, that is your display and your graphics. That is your light and your display IC. Okay, so now if your phone is not turning on, the first thing you have to do is that test another screen. If it's vibrating, it's on with your DC supply, but it's not showing any, there is no graphics, there's no light at all, first test screen. If you test a screen and it's not working, maybe you test up to 2 screens and it's not still showing, the second thing you have to do is to examine the connector. Before even attempting to work on this IC, examine your connector, because most time your connector might get damaged. So now your phone will not show, it will not display. So examine your connector. If that connector is faulty, make sure that you replace it or you clean it and then test it again. If after testing and examining or replacing the connector, if it's damaged and it's still not showing, your screen is not displaying, you have to start working on this IC. So now when you get to this IC, I'm going to do part 2 of this video because I don't want this video to be long. Okay, I will show you on that part 2 how to use your schematics to trace this diagram so that you understand it better. So after watching this part 1, make sure that you watch part 2. Okay, so now our first line that we will test is our VPH line. This is our VPH line. And one funny thing about this IC is that it's not using, like, the VPH enter this IC through different lines. Okay, so now we all know that our VPH is produced by our charging IC. Okay, so now you will see our VPH line. We see VPH here, 3.7 volt. It comes and enter this PVIN. This is what you will see on your schematics. PVIN. That is power voltage in, out. Power voltage in. Okay, this is our power voltage in. So now this VPH comes in and enters this IC in 3 pins. Pin 1, pin 2, pin 3. So now if you see another VPH line here, it comes and enters this through this coil. There is one big coil, and this coil is 4.7 microhenry coil. Okay, this 4.7 microhenry coil. So now this coil enters through this pin number 1, pin number 2, and on your schematics they will label there LX1. That means LX stands for switching. Since it is Samsung, because this type of display, AMOLED display, Samsung normally uses it. Okay, but other models, other companies do use it, but you will mostly see it on Samsung phones. So when you see LX, it stands for switch. But in our normal Techno or Infinity, you see the SW, that stands for switch, SW. But in Samsung, instead of seeing SW, you see LX. Okay, so now that is the logic behind it. Okay, so you see one big coil on that IC. So one of the coil, there are 3 coils on that IC, but one of the coil is for VPH. The first coil there is for VPH. So now you test that coil, and if you get voltage, now if you connect your charger, the VPH voltage will generate, and then you will test this coil. You have to get 3.7, let's say 3.7 to 4.2, because that's the normal VPH voltage that you have. Okay, so after testing it, if you get your voltage, you also have to test on diode mode if this line is shorting, and if your VPH line is shorting, your phone will not turn on. So in this case, the phone is on. So that means that we assume that our VPH is not shorting, but you have to test if the voltage is getting into this IC through this line, VPH line. Now if you get the voltage here, you also have to check this other side also. Now we also see another line that comes out from our VPH line and still enter this IC in a different pin. So it still carry the same VPH voltage, 3.7 to 4.2. Now we are done with this one. So now another line that you will see there. Okay, let me rush and explain this line, because I draw an arrow here with a diode inside, and I connect it to this line. Let me explain this line. Now when this VPH enters this switching, that is this LX1, when it enters, it will output. This is the internal working of this IC. This is how this IC works internally. It will output it through this line. This is our ELVDD 4.6 voltage. Now let me explain something here. We know that our normal display IC, our normal Techno Infinix display, and yes, our display IC, we know that there is always a positive and a negative voltage that we will get. Let's say our negative voltage will be from +4 to, that is from +4 to +6 voltage. That is our positive voltage, +4 to +6 voltage, and we call it VSP. Then we also have our negative voltage that is called VSN, that is -5 volt to -6 volt. So when you come to this AMOLED display circuit, the same logic is still applied here. So now you will see that positive voltage. That's why I draw here ELVDD plus 4.6 volt. Now you might get plus 5 volt or plus 6 volt on this line. Okay, so now this is the positive side, the positive voltage that you will get, and there is a little coil in between this line before it get to your LCD connector. So we have some filter capacitor that is connected in parallel. We have capacitors on this line. So now this is the line. Our switching, our first switching line is the one that creates this positive volt. You have to understand this very well. So that positive plus 5 to plus 6 volt that you get on your normal Android, on your normal Tecno and Infinix phone, you will know that this is the same voltage, plus 4 to 6 plus 4.6 volts. Okay, so this is the line. In case this line is not generating, and you know that this line, this minus volt is generating, you will have to work on this line. Okay, especially this coil, because if this coil is faulty, this voltage will not generate. This is the internal working of it. Okay, you have to understand this very well. So now that is the logic that work with this line. Okay, so now you would have to test this line to get this positive voltage. But before you test this line, I have to explain this other line so that you will understand how this line works. Okay, so we also have another switching, our second switching line, and then there is a coil that connects with this switching, our second switching line. That is our second coil. Okay, so now this coil is always connected to ground. We understand that there are 3 coils that you will see. You will get 3 coils on that display IC. Okay, on this our AMOLED graphics and light IC. There are 3 major coils, 3 big coils around it. So I've explained one coil, and then this is the second coil, and this second coil will be shorting. This second coil will be shorting to ground because this coil is connected to ground. Most people, when they see this coil, what they will do is that they will think that this coil is shorting, and they will remove this coil, and still the phone will not still display. So it is not this coil that is shorting. This is the logic. This coil is channeled to ground. So when you test the second coil, you will notice that the coil will be beeping on both sides. It will short to ground. So that doesn't mean that this coil is shorting. This coil is not shorting. The reason why they channel this coil to ground is that they want to generate this negative voltage, this minus 4.4 volts. Okay, they want to generate this voltage. Now, if you check on our Tecno and Infinix model, you will see that there's a fly cap on our display IC. You always see a fly cap. Now, that fly cap is responsible for powering that minus 5 to minus 6 volts. But on this type of AMOLED graphics and light, you will see this coil. There's no fly cap at all. You see this coil that is connected to ground. So this coil is responsible for generating this negative voltage. So if you get positive voltage and you do not get negative voltage, know that work on this IC or this coil is not functioning. Okay, so now the next line is our VPH. We also have another VPH that still enters this line, our third switching line. So this is, and this coil, sorry, let me explain this thing. This coil is 2.2 microhenry coil. In case you want to replace it, you make sure that you put 2.2 microhenry, and this one is 4.7 microhenry. Then this other one, the third coil there, is our 10 microhenry coil. Okay, so now this coil, you also have to look for this coil to replace if this coil is faulty. So now this coil comes from our VPH line, that's our charging IC line, VPH, and then it enters our third switching line. Now this line comes out and generates this output voltage EL AVDD plus 7.32 plus 7.6. okay, so now this other voltage, I've explained that this two is our display voltage, our positive voltage, that is our VSN, and also our negative voltage, that is our our positive voltage, our VSP, and our negative voltage, our VSN. Okay, so now, but on this AMOLED, it is ELVDD plus 4.6 volt positive voltage, ELVSS. This VDD stands for positive voltage line, and then this VSS stands for our ground. Okay, it's our ground. So that's why you see your negative voltage here. So, but this other line is our light line, is our light voltage line. What I mean is that this is our display voltage line, plus 4 volts and minus 4 volts. But when you get to this line, you will get here plus 7.3 to plus 7.6 voltage. Now let me explain this voltage. On our normal LCD display, on our Techno and Infinix, you will see that the backlight line, you will get the anode, our anode line, that is our LED anode, we will generate 16 to 40 volts when you clip your screen. You on it, when you connect your charger, you clip your screen, and then when you try to on it, when it powers on, you get 16 voltage after the diode. Okay, I'm explaining another circuit, that is our Techno and Infinix display and light circuit. So this one we are talking of light on Techno phone or Infinix phone. Now you will get 16 volts to 40 volts. Now that anode line that goes to your connector and powers up your screen, this is the anode line. So on this type of circuit, you will get 7.3 to 7.6 volts. So this is our anode line, and this is the line that generated. This is our VPH line. 10 microhenry coil is connected on this line, our third coil, and this coil is not beeping to ground. It is only this coil that is beeping to ground. So this coil is our third switching. Okay, so now this coil will come and switch on this line. This is our anode line on this AMOLED graphics and display. Please take note of this detail I'm giving you. Now when it enters this, it will enter this connector, LCD connector. Now we also have another line, ES wire. Okay, this is the name you will see on your schematics. Okay, ES wire. I don't know what this one means. ES wire. Okay, so these two lines is our EL on 1, EL on 2. This is our enabling line. So these two lines is very, very important. You have to understand this line. These two lines, very, very important. Now let me explain the logic behind this. Okay, these two lines is the one that will turn on this IC. If these two lines is open, this IC will not work, and this other voltages will not generate. Now, and these lines can only turn on when you clip your screen. For this IC to work, this line have to function, and before this line functions, you have to clip your screen. This is the only, without clipping your screen, this is the only voltage you will get, your VPH voltage. You will get VPH voltage, that's all. But for you to get this voltage, this line has to switch on, and before you can switch on this line, you have to clip your connector, that is your screen on your connector. Okay, now why is it that this line have to be connected before this line works, this line functions? Let me explain the logic behind it. We get our CPU here, we have our LDO. Okay, this is our low dropout, this is our low dropout. Now let me explain this logic. You see this LDO, we have our LDO here. This is our input voltage for this LDO, 2 volts. This can come from any source. It can come from your VPH, it can come from your VIO, voltage input, any input line. The company might decide to use any input voltage input line. So this is our input line. You also have to test this LDO. You get voltage here, and then this is our ground. It has 4 pins. This is our output, and this is our enabling line. Okay, so now this CPU turns on this LDO with 1.8 volts. It turns on this LDO. Now when it turns on this LDO, now this LDO will then generate this output voltage. Now this output voltage will come to this your screen connector. If you check very well, you see this 1.8 volts on your screen connector. When it enters the screen connector, then you clip it. When you clip your screen connector, this voltage, this 1.8 voltage that comes out of this LDO, it will come to this line, this LE on 1. It will come to this line, okay, and turns on this IC. Okay, so now if this 1.8 volts is not generating, this line 1.8 volts will not turn on. And if this enabling line does not turn on, your phone will not turn on. Now this enabling line, this on 1, is responsible for turning on this positive voltage. The logic, you have to watch this video again for you to understand very well. This line is responsible for turning on this positive voltage, this enabling line, EL on 1.8. Now if this 1.8 is not generating, this circuit will not work because this voltage will not turn on. Now when this line comes, remember I said something that it's this coil that is responsible for powering this line. Now this VPH coil, its work is to send voltage to this line. That's its work. But before this line works, this is the one that will enable this line to work. Okay, so now if you don't get 1.8 volt on this line, that means that this LDO is not sending that 1.8 volt to this clip connector. Work on this LDO, test it. If you get input voltage, you get ground, then you do not get output, know that this enabling line is not working. That means CPU is not sending 1.8 volt to this enabling line to turn on this LDO. So that means this LDO is not turning on, and if this LDO is not turning on, this output voltage will not generate and your phone will not work. Okay, so ensure that this 1.8 is turning on this LDO. If you miss this LDO, you can channel jumper 1.8 volts and channel it to this enabling line. You can pick it from another LDO, enabling line of LDO, another one, and then channel it to this enabling line of LDO. Then it will turn on this LDO and you will get this 1.8 on this screen connector. Then when you clip it, when you clip your screen, you notice that this voltage will turn on this line, and this enabling line, this is the line that enables this IC. So this enabling line will turn on this IC, this particular line, positive voltage. Now we also have another LDO. The same logic applies to it. 1.8 volts is coming from our CPU, enter this line. This place I made a mistake here, so I cancel this line. So this is our enabling line, 1.8 volts from our CPU that enables this LDO to turn on. So we have our input voltage, VPH 3.7 voltage here, we have our ground, we have our output. So when this 1.8 volts turns on this LDO will turn on this enabling line will turn on this our LDO output. So you get either from 1.8 to 2.8 on this other one, from 1.8 to 2.8. So now this 1.8 or 2.8 will come and enter this our screen connector. So when you clip your screen, what I mean is that without clipping your screen, you test this line, you will get 1.8 volts. But for this 1.8 volt to cross to this other side, it will only happen when you clip your screen connector. When you clip your screen connector, this line will be joined with this one. The same logic applies with this one and this one. It's only when you clip your screen that this line will connect to this one, and then this line will generate. This is our EL on 2. Sometimes you will see VDDP as voltage drain to drain positive enabling line. Okay, so when this one turns on, this one will also activate this other line. It will activate this other line. Okay, this minus 4.4 volts. This is the line that is will enable. This line supplies connect with this one, and then this one enable this line. Okay, so this is the logic behind it. If you want to know more about this mobile repair, okay, ensure that you join our online training. Just message me on my WhatsApp number that you've seen above here. Just message me, I will guide you. Okay, so now this is how this logic works. As simple as this, but you have to understand how it works. So now this is where we are going to end this lesson today, because I don't want it to be long. Okay, so now let me revise it so that we'll be able to understand. I said that immediately you get your screen, your phone is not working, first check your connector. If your connector is fine, you change screen, it's not still working, you check your connector is fine, very well. Make sure that you test this line. And let me explain something. If you want to test this line, okay, I will explain that one on part 2. I will show you one trick that you can use to test this line without connecting your screen, without connecting battery, only charger, for you to test to know which one is faulty. I will show you that trick. You will not connect your screen, you will not connect your battery, you only need to connect your charger. And then I will show you how to generate this voltage and this other voltage and this other one without connecting your screen. And you will know which one is faulty. Is it the IC that is faulty, or is it this LDOs that is faulty? Okay, So on our part 2, I will show you that one. Please make sure that you watch this video again. Don't just watch it, just take time on watch it again so that you will understand, and then also watch part 2 so that you will know how to use the schematic diagram and the trick that I want to show you on how to test these circuits. Okay, so this is where we are going to end. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Please, if you haven't liked this video, click on the like button, subscribe to this our channel, comment so that at least we can be motivated to bring more videos. Okay, thank you for watching. Stay blessed.